Her eyes burned from the tears. She'd been crying all day. With her wedding in just a week, she shouldn't be feeling this way. She was far from being the happy bride-to-be. But she'd already booked the venue and she'd picked out the gown of her dreams. So she decided that she would still go to the altar, but not to say I do. Colby Sanders had a seemingly perfect life. 24 years old, and with her whole life ahead of her, she'd been planning her fairy tale wedding. Colby had been dating Skylar for 4 years now, and the couple had been engaged for the last 18 months. It seemed to be a good time for the lovebirds to finally tie the knot. Colby's mother and sister fawned over her in the months leading up to the wedding. They accompanied her to venues, sampled wedding cake, attended bridesmaids fittings, and even helped her to pick out the perfect dress. They were thrilled for Colby, as they should have been. Colby was so swept up in the chaos of planning her perfect wedding that she never realized that something crucial was missing. Colby and Skylar had even decided on a venue, Bellevue in Tyler, Texas. With all the trimmings and little extras, the price for just one night quickly skyrocketed to a whopping $3,500. But the couple gritted their teeth and paid for the booking in full with no regrets. Bellevue was, after all, the perfect location to celebrate their union. With the venue secured, her dress picked out, alterations made, invitations sent out, and caterers booked, Colby went to bed that night with a heavy heart. She lay in her bed and looked up at the ceiling. Only 1 week to go, and she'd be at the altar saying, "I do," to the man she loved with all her heart. But why was she feeling this pang of regret deep down in her belly? The next morning, Colby felt exhausted. She'd tossed and turned all night, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Skylar felt the anxiety coming off her in waves as she sat across from him at the breakfast table. Her eyes were red and puffy, and she looked fragile as she sat there, aimlessly spooning at her muesli. Then she looked up and said the words he never wanted to hear. "We need to talk," Colby said, breaking the silence. But Skylar knew exactly what she was going to tell him. He saw it written on her face, and he felt his world fall apart. The tears streamed down Colby's face, but in her heart she knew. She just never realized it till now. Colby felt that although she still loved Skylar, there just wasn't a spark between them. There hadn't been for months. It was the most difficult decision she ever had to make, but she knew she had to trust her instincts. She'd been so caught up in the whirlwind of planning her dream wedding that she hadn't paused to think. But now that Colby'd broken off the wedding, it was too late to get a refund on all the money she'd already spent on the wedding. The booking for the wedding venue would be completely wasted now, she thought sadly. She felt so depressed, she just wanted to curl into a ball and cry. Then she had an idea. If she couldn't have her wedding at Bellevue, that didn't mean that somebody else couldn't. Colby rose with new resolve. She was going to make the best of this situation, and she knew exactly how to do it. She got on the phone with the owners of the wedding venue, and they gave her 24 hours to donate the venue to another couple. But who would she give it to? Colby took to Facebook, calling on other couples who were free to get married on October 20th, the day that would have been her wedding. Suddenly the comments were flooding in, from caterers and makeup artists to photographers and dressmakers. They were all so inspired by Colby's gesture that they offered to donate their services to the chosen couple at no charge. By the end of the day, Colby had the names of dozens of hopeful couples. But how to choose just one? Then she decided that the couples whose stories touched her heart the most would be entered into a random draw. That way she could ensure that one of the most deserving couples would get the free wedding venue. There was one story that really caught Colby's attention though. 22-year-old Haley Hipsher and her fiancé Matthew Jones were struggling financially. And when Colby read their story, her heart went out to them. The young couple were very much in love and had been engaged for a year, but had never managed to set aside enough money to have their dream wedding. And that was because all their money went into one important aspect of their lives. Haley and Matthew were parents. They have a baby named Riley. But that wasn't the only reason Colby felt that they were so deserving of a free wedding venue. Haley's grandfather, or Pawpaw as she affectionately calls him, had recently been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Haley worried every day that he wouldn't make it to see her finally walk down the aisle. So when Colby pulled Haley and Matthew's name from the draw, she couldn't be happier with her decision. She announced the winners in a live Facebook video, and the young couple was ecstatic. They would finally be able to have the wedding that they wouldn't have been able to afford. And best of all, Haley's grandfather would be the guest of honor. Of course, the lucky and deserving couple were insistent that Colby attended their wedding. It was thanks to her generosity that they would finally be able to tie the knot. Kobe accepted the invitation and even helped Haley with all her wedding day preparations. Although it was a bittersweet day for Kobe, she knew that she'd done the right thing. Haley Hipsher became Haley Jones on the afternoon of October 20th, and the wedding was everything the couple had dreamed of and more. Even though the invitations had been last minute, the venue was packed with their friends and loved ones as they gathered to witness their union. But most importantly, Haley's beloved Pawpaw was there too. Throwing together everything on short notice was difficult but worked out. Walking down the aisle was breathtaking, and I wouldn't want to change 1 second of the day because it's all I could have dreamed of and more, Haley explained in an interview. Kobe couldn't be happier for the couple. It proves that I did the right things with my own marriage and chose the right person. It was fate that I drew her name, she explained. Her initial Facebook exploded, but afterward, everyone wanted to know about the newlyweds and how Haley's grandfather was doing. Soon after the Facebook post went viral, local news stations picked up the story. Kobe's generosity had been an inspiration to thousands, but she remains humble. This was natural to me. I didn't have to think about it, she said. I'm really glad that she won. Her reaction definitely made all of this worth it.